So I'm trying to figure out fearful avoidant attachment style with you guys. And I was playing Scrabble, the online one or the app or whatever. And somebody wrote the word burden. And for some reason I was super triggered by the word burden. And I'm like, why is that bothering me? And it's because there are dynamics at work right now where I sometimes need help with certain things. And I thought, oh no, am I a burden? I don't want to be a burden. And for some reason, that word just upset me. And I just started thinking of, oh my gosh, let me try to figure out how to do this myself and how to do that myself and not ask anybody. But the things that I'm needing to do are huge and they really do require help, but it makes the company look great. So, and we have volunteers that want to help, but I just all of a sudden started freaking out like am I being a burden? And in other places that I've worked, there has been no assistance. And so I worked very independently. And I also know that as somebody who struggles with some disorganized attachment style, or AKA fearful avoidant attachment style, that I'm allergic to the word burden. I really want to be independent. I don't like relying on anyone. I don't like asking for help. And I wonder why that's so triggering. And I think if you are this attachment style, you could probably relate. Maybe you have had too much an emotional overload poured onto you by other people. You're sort of used to being the savior, not in the biblical sense, but you're used to having to help everyone. You're used to people asking you for things, but you never asking them for things. You're used to people telling you all their problems and trying to help them. You're used to having to step in and figure out things. You're probably very codependent. So you kind of put yourself aside for the needs of others. And so you go without asking for help. You suffer silently. You don't share your thoughts. I mean, there are some people who do, but then there are a lot of people of this attachment style that I think kind of try to do the heavy lifting on their own because they know how it feels to have to handle too much. It's not unusual, I don't think, for these folks to live on overwhelmed boulevard. So people would probably think of fearful avoidant attachment disorder and never associate it with the word burden. But I'm not trying to do cookie cutter what the textbook says. I'm trying to do real. And I know that the word burden is triggering to someone who is truly this attachment style. Other people might look at the word burden and pass right by it and it means nothing, but it could send chills down this person's spine and they will start to evaluate every little tiny thing, every little interaction to make sure that they are just not a burden. So when you think of the word burden, let's define it. So being a burden typically means or refers to the feeling or perception that someone is causing strain on other people, difficulty or inconvenience for others. And this can manifest in various contexts, such as emotional, financial, or physical support. For instance, somebody might feel like they're a burden if they rely on friends or family during a tough time, or if their needs require significant resources or effort from others. And it often involves a feeling of guilt, shame, or inadequacy. I think that someone with this attachment style needs to understand and remember that everyone needs help at times, and seeking support is a normal part of a human relationship, and it's okay. I think that could be therapy to somebody who is of this type to realize you don't have to carry 100 heavy books in both of your hands. You can actually, there will be other people who will be willing to take 5 each. And not to say that that should be just a regular practice, because I personally don't like feeling like I'm taking advantage of people, using people. I'm totally allergic to that. It's a huge turn off. If I can do it myself, I'd rather do it myself. And I think people of this attachment style can relate to that because they're usually overwhelmed and overburdened, and they've probably had too much placed upon them. They've been too reliable, too trustworthy, too having to hold up the house by themselves. So they're used to that, but sometimes they need help. And when they tap into that, they can find it very helpful and like, wow. But they're always going to be clinging to the side rails, to the guardrails. Like, I don't want to go too much over to the side where I'm asking or needing support or assistance because it feels extremely uncomfortable. And that could be very codependent, where you took care of an alcoholic parent and you know what that feels like to be out of your league in some area and having to do way more than you can handle. That's the something that you need to understand about this attachment style. And sometimes they may be in denial about what they've been through, but a lot of times they've been through some challenges at a very young age. Avoidant, fearful avoidance. I always get their name mixed up. It's so freaking annoying. But anyway, you need to realize that sometimes you do need help. You need it. It's okay. It's not something to feel humiliated or embarrassed or ashamed about. Definitely don't want to take advantage of people or get in the habit of just being a user. But this attachment style tends to be very intense. So some of the things that they do and the ways in which they do them are very, very intense. And some people could not even keep up with this person's style or work dynamic because they could go to several next levels with their achievement ability and the way that they like to do certain things in life. It could be overwhelming to the wrong person, but let's say that they do have volunteers that can help them. They're probably going to be pretty intense with that volunteer, and the volunteer will probably need to be somebody who likes having a lot to do. Like they get bored easily, or they like to be challenged, or they can keep up with a very fast pace because the disorganized attachment style is overwhelmed more often than not and can use the help. So it is okay to need help sometimes. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. So here are a few tips that can help you if you feel like you are a burden to people, because guess what? You probably aren't. It seems like the things, people who are a burden to people, they aren't aware, they don't care that they're taking advantage of people. So just the fact that you can relate to this word probably means that you're not a burden at all. In fact, some people feel rejected when you never ever need them for anything. So just keep some things in mind. You want to acknowledge your feelings. You want to communicate openly, practice self-compassion, start small. And when I say start small, if asking for help feels daunting, then begin with small requests. And just know that this can help build your comfort level and gradually reduce the fear of being a burden. And you want to share your feelings with trusted friends or family members and let them know that you sometimes struggle with the fear of being a burden. Open communication can strengthen relationships and reduce misunderstandings. Another thing you can do is reflect on relationships. Consider the relationships in your life and identify those where you feel safe and supported, and focus on nurturing those connections. And if you need to seek professional support, it's okay. It is the thing nowadays. So get some support in counseling. They can help you work through your attachment style. And you also want to challenge negative thoughts, because this is an issue for disorganized attachment style. So when feelings of being a burden arise, challenge those thoughts. Ask yourself if they're based on reality or fear. Often your loved ones are willing to help and appreciate the chance to support you. So you want to gradually build healthier relationships and address feelings associated with your attachment style. So you might be thinking, I'm a disorganized attachment style or fearful avoidant, and do I worry about being a burden to people? I want you to really think about that. Give it some thought, okay? Because if you are this attachment style, you may relate to this. Or do you think that I am totally off base? I told you this is our channel. This is our stuff to figure out. So you let me know in the comments if you just think, you know what, this is a truth. Do you also find that other people are a burden to you? Oh, yep. That's a hot button. You know, we could have spent this whole time talking about that because I think a lot of people are a burden to you and you take it when you really need some support and some relief. So I want you to also think about that for a minute and check out my 3 books that I've written on Myers-Briggs personality types. That will help you to understand people better so that you're not as freaked out about them. And I wrote a book about love called Flip the Script on Love. And I wrote a book called The Workplace Narcissist. And all of this will help you to understand people better, which can help alleviate some of the anxiety and stress that you feel. So check those out. Subscribe so you can go on this journey with me as we figure this stuff out so that we can be healthier and we can move towards a secure attachment style together. So be sure to subscribe, like the video if you want to see more like this. I'll keep cranking them out and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.